Have you ever felt that your life needed a pause? That your heart is searching for answers, but doesn't know where to start? Path of Faith, Discoveries on the Path of the Soul, is not just a book. It's a journey, a real story of overcoming challenges, faith, and transformation that will inspire you to take the next step in your life. Discover how challenges can turn into lessons and how every moment can be an opportunity to reconnect with what truly matters. This book is for those who seek more than stories. It's for those searching for purpose, inspiration, and themselves. Available exclusively on Amazon. Link in the video description. Start your journey of transformation today. Path of Faith, Discoveries on the Path of the Soul. What are you waiting for?
There it is in coexistence, in the word, in intimacy. Scream does not solve. It's no use screaming at this girl she needs to live, that she needs to like her life. No, something inside her is out of fit. What is trauma? Trauma is that part of the heart, the brain, the life, right? A man you want who is not fitted of affections. So when we reorganize the person's heart, when we rearrange the way they feel the world. Okay, I can have security through a brother. I can resume this security through a friendship, a new relationship, and then do everything not to play in this new relationship my traumas too. Because this is the risk. So, observing our children well, we will find out why he is currently defective. Why is adolescence, guys, is a time when we give so much defect? Because it is a transition phase, perhaps the most definitive of life. You are no longer the child you were, but you are not an adult yet. It's a state of not being, right? It's a kind of weird thing. So that's why the teenager is so rebellious. He wants to rebel against everyone. He does not accept rules. He thinks that everything is wrong. You have to be patient with this time in life. In a little while, he enters the axis again. You discipline this transformation well, being able to understand it. It can never think that you do not understand it. Even because for you to establish the limit that he will have to live, you need to show that you have an interest in this process of it, not trivializing what he feels, right? Because sometimes we trivialize what the other feels. What you are feeling is silly. No, never say that. If the other is feeling, then it is not a nonsense. We need to understand. So sometimes, Helena, what we are lacking is to look at these people who are on our side and help them remove that weight. Because it is not normal for us to want to die at 16. It is not normal for us to want to die anytime. If we are suddenly losing our taste for life, be careful. Don't let it grow inside you. Last week, I had a date that taught me a lot. Once again, what I am saying, that I like to realize in practice, what I know in theory. A friend of mine came to me and told me that I had made some choices that were not in agreement with what he is. Do you know when you find out that there is an inability between what I am and what I am doing? For example, Vanils is a pianist. Well, if you suddenly remove the piano from your life and Vanils speaks like this, you will no longer be able to play this piano. You are suffering, are you? Even music is part of your life. It's in your blood. Look. What is beautiful? It's in the blood. This is a very serious expression. If it is in the blood, it is because it is part of me. If it's out, it's not part of me. This outfit may even serve me, but it's not part of me. I am Father Fabio, even without this shirt. Without this shoe. I brought it, but I can change. I can wear another one. Now, inside, there is a reality that asks, which cries all of the time for consistency. I need to be in the right place. So when I start allowing my being to be inhabiting a place to which it was not done, I begin to compromise the meaning of my life. And that's exactly what my friend was talking about, crying, saying, I'm in the wrong place, doing the wrong thing. I'm cheating on my essence. I'm cheating on what I am on. It cannot. You can't get one more day. If you find out that you are cheating on your essence, insisting on being in a situation to which you have not been done, You are compromising the meaning of your life. My people, what Jesus did with people was that. I found the right person in the wrong place and do what? She could give her to guide her so that she was in the right place. It is the same plant. If you disregard the nature of the plant, that plant was made to damn places. I insist on transplanting it. I take it out of the damp place and put it in the dry place. It's no use doing anything. She will die. I'm there in the fight with my palm trees. I planted beautiful palm trees. Every day, I look at them. Oh, my Father, will they survive? I'm doing everything they said I have to do to make them feel less the transplant. Then I keep trying to favor the growth so that it does not die. I don't want her to die. And you know that I look at my garden there, that now I'm having the opportunity to take care. I keep seeing what Jesus did with people. It's the same thing to me, my people. I am also a plant that if I'm in the wrong place, I die. Do not be afraid. Don't be afraid to look at the place you are, the life you are living, and move it all. No one was born to be drugged. No one was born to be sad. To have a problem, yes, because it is part of life. But stay all the time feeding a process of depression, anguish, anxiety? No. Raisin. From time to time, we are saddened. From time to time, someone will do something wrong for us. If you are planted in the right place, you support it all. This is our effort, my people, It's from even Nils, it's yours. The people discover the place in the world, knowing that what Jesus wants to do with us is that conversion is that you take the steps to take the right place. The realization I want, that you want, and that God already wanted long before us. This is what I wish you. That today you can go to sleep at least bothered by Ida. May you wake up tomorrow, let you sleep like this, and that you wake up willing to live your place well in the world. Don't imagine much, see? Look around and find out what you can do today so you can be the right person in the right place. A well-done question has the power to generate very creative answers within us. Or, when we cannot reach the answers, the question even takes us to lead us to a process of change. For example, when I wonder what a human being needs to be happy, I may want to find the answers by putting all dimensions of material happiness, which is no problem. I need material realities. I need a comfort where to sleep. I need food. But when I enter the spiritual dimensions of happiness, there is no end. Because it is spiritually different from matter. Materially, I can be almost saturated with much. I find people who have a lot all the time, and I know how difficult it is for them to manage everything they have. Sometimes they pass so much of life and time managing what it has materially achieved. And then it's not enjoying it, right? See? It is managing. I like to say that I have tried not having it, and today I experience it. Both are difficult. Not having is very difficult, and having is also very difficult. From the moment you have a house, which you have the responsibilities of that house, the demands of that house, you lose some of your freedom. Things are creating a context for us that is imprisonment. As free as we are, we always have a right, and sometimes a few moderate, others an exaggerated attachment to things. By the way, when we are going to die, when we know that we are close to dying, much weighs the knowing with whom things will be. A person who is free, for example, of material goods, when he approaches the end, he will be much more conflicted with what people will be, the son he left. Now, when there is a material attachment, the person is much more concerned with who will be things than how people will be. So, unlike material wealth, spiritual wealth, it does not occupy space. It sweeps spaces within us. The richer a person gets spiritually, the empty he feels, not in the sense that he has no meaning to life, but the more space they create inside so that they can receive more, unlike accumulators. It's so sad, isn't it? You can look and do your judgment. How can a person live in such an accumulated environment? Yeah, it's a disease. It is an imbalance. This is the highlight of an attachment to matter. But there are people who seek this happiness in matter. Extrapolates what is needed for us. Yes, happiness. It also includes material dimensions of life. But make no mistake, After having what is material, if there is no spiritual meaning for what you have, you become prison for us. You will live to manage what you built, not to enjoy. And it is very sad to live to manage. Sometimes we see people who are like dogs tied to the goods they have. Someone approaches and already fails. It's not like this. Live there to watch. The car cannot have a scratch. If he realizes that he has a scratch, he no longer sleeps at night. He already wants the other day and solve what is problem. It is an exaggerated attachment. Makes happiness depend on all that is material, but having, if he is not covered with spiritual realities, spiritual meanings, becomes just a burden. Then you arrive at a time you even need to ask, right? Who is from whom? Is it the car that is mine, or I am in the car? Yes, happiness includes material needs. It's very good for us to have. Things do not make us richer. Things only make us heavier. Because it is having without spirituality. Because I can well to quote. My house, for example, is no longer a weight for me when it becomes the place of my true rest, where I find my peace, my tranquility, where I redo my tiredness, and where I put the people I love. Everyone who frequents that house becomes part of spiritual happiness. It is so beautiful when you enter a house and you realize that respect for the other is in the small details. It's not just a home to be beautiful, no. It is a home to have spiritual meaning. That is, the people who move around there love each other, and that becomes part of spiritual happiness. You are accompanied by people you have learned to love. The other is not seen as just one object to meet needs. No. The other is a being that is part of the joy of my house. We grow up too much as people when we can overcome the meaning of matter. No, we need to allow God to raise us, to grow us. Spiritual maturation, spiritual richness, even to help us make sense to everything that materially we can achieve. Everything you have already achieved. Everything you can still achieve. For you to be a rich person spiritually, affectionately, and even that little you have already reached, it may not be much. It is so full of meanings that you feel richer. You have that feeling that it was worth it. You get generous. You are grateful for life. Which is very bad when we do not learn gratitude. We can conquer so many things and we are still not satisfied. Why? The spiritual richness of being grateful is lacking. To understand what you have achieved as a result that always deserves to be celebrated. I wish you, in your struggles, always have the right and the possibility of removing your excesses. So you have your fundamental truth before your eyes. No exaggeration, just you. And from that, you meet the path of life. I remember last week we talked about people who have difficulty making decisions that are favorable to them. Why? Because they are enslaved to suffering. Interesting this, isn't it? Sad to realize that we often get into vicious processes so self-destructive that we lose the ability to decide for us. These are relationships that enslave. Relationships in all habits, from a relationship, a friendship relationship, even a marital life. When you realize that you, for that relationship to work, you have to lose your belonging. You have to give up everything you are. This is cruel, isn't it? This is not love. We may even believe in the human's ability to live a certain martyrdom for the other, but that cannot become annihilation of being. Even because if I annihilate who I am, I stop having myself and I have nothing to offer the other more. And it is interesting to understand that conversion, this approach, that we make of God to have a better heart. I always like to say that the religious process in human life is precisely to help us deal with human issues. Spirituality, it is only beneficial from the moment it transforms what is carnal. And then, in the body dimension, in the material dimension of life, we experience the benefits of spirituality. It is in the body that we live the mystique. So it is in this territory that we have waged this daily struggle to start having a heart that is a friend, to start having. And when I say heart, I am reporting myself to the whole dimension of consciousness that a human being has of himself. We know that within history, within the historical context, the heart eventually became a referential of feeling, of affection. We talk to each other very lovingly. You live in my heart. When we say the expression heart, we are talking about our wholeness. It's like a center where everything is decided in us, right? And in fact, our heart is the brain. Right? What really decides all feelings, all that is populated in the brain, but we like to say that it is the heart that decides when we are referring to the emotional dimensions that are also brain, are also rational. It's all here, in our head. So when I have the ease of feeding oppressive feelings, for example, I am being unfavorable to my heart, because a person who is dominated by oppressive feelings, oppressive thoughts, they will have a hard time living harmoniously. To seek balance in things, realities. We started dying, my people, the moment we think to think wrong, the moment we replace a good thinking with bad thinking. When we replace a positive thinking, when we wake up in the morning and you, instead of realizing what is being good, you fix it to what is defective. So you prevent your heart to be in harmony, to beat favorable, right? And heart that does not beat favorable catches. We cannot have a heart that is picking up all the time. In the sense, aggressiveness. You know this. We have tired of saying this here. Aggressiveness. It is absolutely necessary in human life. And how should we exercise our aggressiveness? Dreaming loudly, seeking in our daily lives the improvement of ourselves. Because if we don't do this, we'll start assaulting people. Physically, even. Let's assault with our words. Let's assault with our gestures, with our posture. There are people who have never raised their hand to slap the other person, but it is aggressive all the time. The aggressiveness we need to have is the one that does not allow us to be parked in what we have already achieved of ourselves. This, yes, is the aggressiveness to which Jesus referred to, that Jesus said that one must be violent to conquer the kingdom of heaven. Isn't that what he said? You have to be violent, but not to remove the sword and go out killing everyone who passes through us. No. Violence has to be when you encourage yourself to kill everything that is harmful in you. Everything that is in you is diabolical. Everything that in you, what is harmful to ourselves. And that is why conversion is always a mentality transformation. São Paulo already spoke this and taught us with all your culture, right? Paul was a man deeply knowledgeable of the culture of his day. He was a great philosopher. A man who had contact with unholy culture, so to say, secular from his day. And São Paulo brings all the range of knowledge that his cultural formation had given him to understand Christianity. This is the big difference from Peter and Paul. Pedro is a simple man who had no opportunity to study. So what did he do? He applied all the time in a practice of carrying the gospel forward, in the Malay, in everyday life, in the task of traveling, of walking distances to make the gospel happen in the communities. Paul was already more erudite, and his group there too, who liked to think of Christianity and disseminate Christianity with letters, with lectures at that time, gathered, it is true. He gathered the communities in the big theaters. So you see, you had at that moment the Church of Peter walking with all the difficulties, with all that courage Peter had, because Peter was a hard-working man. He was a fisherman. So he certainly used all the resources he had to talk about Jesus from the practical experience of being who he was to do what he did. And he converted a lot of people. He has converted thousands and thousands of people. And even today, we are children of Peter. But Paul, with his ability to think of Christianity, led Christianity to the most unusual places through culture, through intelligence, the elaboration of letters that we still read in our communities today. And say, after the reading of the Lord is over. So Paulo, did you understand that conversion is the change of mindset? The true Christian is one who is constantly undergoing a process of mental transformation. Look how fantastic that. Do you know that every time you learn something new, your brain is physically modified? He undergoes physical modifications. So when we dive into the mystery of Christianity, we begin to assimilate a way of being and thinking of Jesus. I keep thinking, my people, that at the beginning of Christianity, many were killed because they thought like Jesus, because they lived like Jesus. Only in the year 300 and something, if this is 314, that Constantine, the emperor, officializes Christianity as the official religion of the Roman Empire. And incredible as it may seem, from the moment Constantine officializes, which allows Christianity to lose its strength a little now. Interesting this, isn't it? That before being the official religion, it was the time of martyrdom. It was the time where people had to do everything to live the belief in Jesus. Even forbidden. Even denied. People needed to fight. And I remember that I had a church history teacher who said that when Christianity is officialized, one begins to have religious relativism. If you think, today, are we forbidden to live our Christianity? No. Only we are within a society that is closing the circus more and more. The approval of this abortion prophylaxis, as some people called, this amendment that can open doors, yes, so that abortion is this time. It's like water that is slowly undermining, right? The church will always be radically against the whole process that can facilitate an abortion of a child. We are not even here entering the fear of public policy issues. Which women are entitled to this is entitled to that. We are not entering this fear. This is a political discussion. We are talking about the value of life that we need to preserve all the time. Now, if you think, what changes to us Christians any breach that may be of law for abortion to be officialized? Absolutely nothing, because for us life remains a value, and we will do everything, even if it is an ant job, so that no woman aborts the child who is waiting. The gospel is not just a backpack that leads to the back and occasionally get rid of it. No, it's internalized. We understand Jesus' proposal. It became a way of thinking. So for us, it will always be inadmissible for a child to be killed because the mother has not planned that pregnancy. Or because that mother went through a process that was oblivious to her williest. But from the moment life exists, we need to commit to it. And that's where the question comes in. When I have a heart that is favorable to me, when my heart is converted, I don't will need to make a lot of effort to want good. This is fantastic, my people. We identify that conversion, true conversion, makes good natural in us. That we don't always do good. We want. Why? It is lust. A difficult word, right? Who talks about something very simple. What is lust? The natural tendency we have to make mistakes. And the conversion is that. It is you putting lust in a certain control. It is you to identify that you have a fragility that needs care. I always like this example. Fragility cannot scare us. It's like a crystal. I have a piece in my house that is precious. So I have to keep it in a way that she's not exposed to the risks of being treated anyway, right? Why? Because it is crystal. She is fragile. So what is fragile tells me that there will be greater care. We have no rude souls. We have fragile souls. That is why within us, we need to constantly go through the experience of care, the experience of compassion, the experience of love. Because if we do not put love in this heart, if we do not convert our hearts, Want good will always be a painful process for us. Doing good will always be a painful process. And it can't be like that. When Heloisa died at the age of 29, a tragic accident was the first loss my mother lived. When I arrived, I thought I was going to find a torn woman. She was sitting, crying, of course, with a third in her hand. It was 3 days and 3 nights waiting for my sister's body to arrive. It was 3 days and 3 nights with that sleepless woman, praying, recruiting the courage to live that moment. Then when my last sister, who died, the same thing. When my brother was arrested and spent 4 years in prison. When I saw my mother every single day, at lunch, leaving home and bringing a lunchbox in prison, so he could eat the same food that we ate. Every holy day, the same humiliation. The jailer opened that lunchbox. Either it was with a pen or it was with an object. And the times I accompanied, she always talked about my friend. There is nothing, boy. It's just his food. My mother was always in the place she had to be. She never fled. And at that moment, I remembered everything she did for me, everything she gave me, everything she raised me, everything she taught me, even when she said nothing. Because sometimes my mother educated me just looking at me. I got up and went, and that little distance that separated me, perhaps the longest in my life, is what I have lived daily today. I wanted to be present, my people. Do you know when you recruit the state of presence? That sometimes we are, but it is not. Sometimes we went, but didn't see. We were there, but it wasn't. At that moment, I wanted God to give me the total possibility of being present, or harder than that moment. And it was, and it is still. That cemetery at night, illuminated by some flashlights, that dry noise of burial. That will never leave me again, but I was there. Do you know why? My mother deserved my presence. My mother needed me to be there. It is a rule for life. When you need to suffer or rejoice, be present. Remember that song? When Jesus passes, I want to be, is. Don't be afraid of what you have to live. Be present. It's the best way to prepare the future. It is being present in what life invites us today. When the pain knocks on your door, listen to what it has to say. Make sure it can make you much better. The most interesting people I found in my life are those who have transformed their pain, their sufferings, into great learning. And this is Christianity, my people, transforming Calvary into resurrection. And crazy? And change anything the fact that we believe in God? No. We suffer the same way. Does God soften our pain? No. We are still suffering, but it is a different suffering because it is packed, embraced by faith in the resurrection. With respect to those who are gone, who here lost someone in the pandemic, with respect to those who are gone, do you know what we need to do? To live in honor of those who are no longer among us. Do you know what we need to do? Celebrate. To celebrate the memory of those who are no longer among us. Do you know what we need to do? Dance. Brighten our heart. Because life is the most precious gift God has given us. And readiness is the best way to live it. I can do everything through Him who strengthens me. And God uses people to take care of us. We already sang earlier. God's care is spiritual because He shields us with His love, which manifests itself in self-love as well. When you love yourself, it is God's love loving you. When you protect yourself, when you respect yourself, it is God's love helping to create respect for you. And we all have the people who represent this care of God in our lives. And today, a person who takes care of me a lot, who is very special in my life, is having a birthday. It was supposed to be here, but she got sick at time for us to leave. Saidina Zarzur from Taubaté, who is a woman who chose to take care of me since she met me. She takes my bales, she helped me in everyday life, that just as she takes care of me, that God always gives her, always can surround her. people who do the same. I want this to someone now, even if it is in a message on the cell phone, or someone who has gone away. The pandemic tore us so many people who took care of us. That was no longer the practical care of everyday life. That over time, people will stop being able to do what they do, but they took care of us with their meaning. That people lose their usefulness, no problem. Over time, they no longer have the skills they had in their youth, but the meaning is. I have here, thank God, I can say that I am surrounded by people who want my good. It is God taking care of me. Who here is just with the friend? Me too. There is nothing more powerful than a friend's protection. Hold on his hand now. This is how God holds your hand. This is how he makes him return to the way. This is how God sustains you. It is in the hand of a friend, the greatest treasure. God takes care of me through you. That I am sure you pray for me. You want my good. That's it. Christianity is that. That statement of Acts. See how they love each other. Has to be our testimony. If you could know the joy that is generated between us here, even when we are exhausted on the roads. He knows why. What brings us here is the huge desire to do well to your heart. Let's do the following. We will not ask God for anything today. Today, we will only deliver. What was good, delivers. What was bad, delivers. What you need, delivery. And sometimes you don't know. You only know what you want. So we deliver what we want, but especially what we need. May God give us what we need and not what we want. Because sometimes what we want doesn't coincide with what we need. So, tonight is delivery. We open our hearts and deliver everything to the Lord. We deliver our home, our lives, our sadness, our joys. These 2 years so difficult that we live. We delivered 2020, 2021. What we lose, what we have gained, what we have learned, what we unlearned, which we got better, what we get worse. We deliver, but don't get back. Combined, who here will deliver? Who will take back? There. It's to deliver. Then raise your arms with me and say so, Lord Jesus. I consecrate them in me so that they are a source of learning. And today, sir, I deliver my life and my future, that my gift is which I am living now. He is already full of his presence. He is already full of his presence. Everything is all honor, all glory to the virtue is of the Father. So now, yes, with our hands, with all that we want to deliver, Lord be with you. By intercession of the Blessed Virgin Mary, go down on us, our Brazil, about our hearts, about our families, the blessing and protection of heaven, the Almighty God, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
As we conclude this spiritual exploration on Path of Faith, we invite you to engage with us by leaving your comments, liking this video, sharing it with others, and subscribing to our channel for regular doses of uplifting messages.